Leaving my friend's house, I accidentally backed into a brick mailbox. My bike rack hit the mailbox, so my car was okay, but it completely demolished the mailbox. No big deal, right? That's why we have insurance. I went to the neighbor and told them what happened and gave them my insurance, phone number, and name. All I got was his first name. From the get-go, the dude was creepy. He kept hitting on me, trying to date me, specifically trying to feed me. I left, and on my drive to my mom's, I'm attending out-of-state college and my parents are divorced. The guy that I backed into, Robert, began to text me and call me. He was insistent that it was better for the both of us to just pay out of pocket for the mailbox, sending me links to companies that could fix it for $500, and demanding that I go on a date with him so that I could give him the cash for the repair and he could feed me. I don't know what his deal with the food was. I declined everything, but started to get annoyed by his constant texts and calls. Finally, after 2 days of it, with my responses only, "Please contact my insurance," I sent him a text saying that he was harassing me. I blocked him, but he made a new number and threatened to report it as a hit and run to the police. I'm in law school, okay, this wasn't a hit and run, so I blocked the second number. And then he used a new number to ask me if I wanted to send a screenshot or video of the accident to his insurance. I admit this made me angry. I called this number and dug my nails so hard into my thigh that I drew blood as he threatened reporting things, asking me on a date and trying to entice me to pay cash for it. I finally screamed, "Don't ever contact me again, you weirdo." My dad heard me and was upset that I had said that to somebody that I was in an accident with, and that I said that to a guy who thought I was cute and just wanted a date. I blocked the third number. The next day, he reaches out again to tell me that I gave him the wrong policy number. I told him that I didn't. He then said it would be easier to pay cash and that I was the problem. He was talking to his insurance, I guess, and began trying to validate my info. He had my mom's name, address, and phone number. I verified it and told him to not contact me again, and I blocked his new number. The next morning, super early, I get a text, basically saying that he finished the claim and I was awful for making it harder than it needed to be, by going through insurance and not going on a date with him. He then included, "You're so beautiful and ugly at the same time. Don't take any risks. Stay on the good path. Goodbye." At this point, I got scared. Fifth number blocked. And then at midnight, he messages, "You up? I know where you live and don't try to screw me over on insurance. I'll report it as a hit and run. You should have just gone on a date with me." I took the phone to my dad, showed him the messages and filled him in. My dad, a pretty scary dude, then calls the guy. He answered, "Shoot, I knew you were into me. You want to come over?" My dad got very mad. My dad said this was beyond harassment, and that this was a final warning to not contact me, and that we didn't care how he reported it. Robert began saying that I came on to him and offered sex as a payment, invited him to my house, and that I was other bad things. Instantly blocked, police contacted, insurance notified, all of the things. The next day I talked to insurance, a protective order filed. I get another message telling me that I shouldn't have involved the police. I block the seventh number, notify the police, and go to stay at my dad's because the dude doesn't have this address. My dad's a very tall, scary dude who loves his Second Amendment. Late last night, watching Star Wars with my dad and older brother, the doorbell rings. My dad goes to see who it is, and it's Robert with a trash bag filled with things that I left at his house. I call the police, my dad goes ballistic, and all the other things. The police come and arrest the guy. The bag, lingerie, a knife, lip balm, and a Dita Von Tess fetish book. I just met with an attorney. And the plot twist, the guy doesn't even own the house. He's an illegal immigrant, is married, and is being deported. I feel awful that he's being deported. I genuinely think he wanted to attack or do things worse to me. I go back to school in a few days and I'm so terrified that he or someone else will follow me. I have had people stalk and follow me before, and because of that and my true crime addiction, I become supremely paranoid and a solid curtain twitcher. I, a 31-year-old female, reside in an upstairs room that was my first room to myself as a child. I had to leave a bad situation and therefore ended up back at my childhood home. For reference, when our house was built, we were told that the field to our left, filled with horses and a barn at the time, would one day soon be a development. It was 2000 when we were told that, and it wasn't until 2022 that roads started being formed and foundations laid. I had already had somebody follow me home before when I was younger, but I was in a different bedroom next door. My parents put in a free library that's right below my window, and nighttime security lights that are very bright and turn on if you're within like 20 feet of the side of my house that my room is on. I'll admit, having an open field next to me so long made me accustomed to not closing the curtains when I would change, because there was never anybody to watch. Well, now there is. For the past 2 weeks, the burglar lights next to the free library have been going off late at night. Because my one side of the curtain is open so I can use my vape. That's the only reason that I noticed it all. I didn't think too much at first. We lock all the doors and windows every night and I'm on the second floor. I also always looked out to see if it was a car, somebody walking their dog or a deer, only to see nothing. To add, they put a ton of streetlights around this area so visibility is great, but it just kept on happening. So last night I did my usual, and I saw the lights come on out of my peripherals. I acted natural, giving full view of the window that I was going to bed. It was about 3 a.m., turning the TV off and closing the window and curtains and turning the light out. And then I ducked down, peering through the curtains to the sidewalk below. I honestly thought that I was going to pass out when after a few minutes, maybe 5, somebody comes out from the side of my house, all silhouette, dressed in black. They kept their back to me until the light turned off, but I swear that I could still see them standing there, looking up like they could see me. I called the police, but while I was on the phone with the operator, I saw them run off. There wasn't much they could do except say that they'd have a car drive around and look. My parents are asleep and I know that I have to tell them tomorrow. This scares the crap out of me. If it hadn't been happening for weeks and was a solo incident, I probably would have been fine about it. But the fact that the light had been going off without me seeing activity, and what happened tonight, makes me think that this person has been watching me and my house. To the person outside my window, please, I hope we never meet. Update. I did tell my parents, and at first they brushed me off, claiming that I had had a couple of drinks and that it was late, so I probably just saw somebody checking out the library. I then had another conversation about it with just my dad, who said that there had been reports the last couple of weeks about cars being broken into, and since my car is parked on my side of the street right outside my window, maybe they were trying to break into it. I pointed out that if he was trying to get into my car, why was he pressed up against the house where he wasn't visible from my window? And why did he at no point go towards my car? I think I freaked him out enough that we're going to potentially get a camera for that area. Given all the development happening around us, I think it's smart even without this incident. Thank you all for listening, and I'll let you know if anything else happens. Hey everybody, this took place the summer of 2022 and I just never thought of writing down this story because I was so stunned that it even happened to me. So every summer in my city, me and my friends like to make small campfires and chill out. We usually do this in secluded areas because we don't want to drive an hour to an actual campsite and pay any campsite fee to do so. These also happen pretty spontaneously It's a nice, last-minute hang to do. There's this one spot near my house that's located by a river that's really nice because nobody usually goes there. The only thing to be worried about are bears though, because living in the Pacific Northwest is challenging like that. And my house specifically is located right next to mountains and forest. So one particular night at 11 p.m. I decide to go ahead of my friends and meet them at the spot and set things up early because I want us to be chilling once they all get there. The spot that I get to has a 2-minute paved walkway that I have to go through. And then I have to take a small trail ramping down the right side of the bridge that crosses over the river. Along this paved walkway is 2 lamps located at halfway, and another at the start of the bridge or the ramp going down to the campfire spot. I park my car at the beginning of the trail on the street and bring my campfire stuff like a flashlight, a lighter, and small firewood, a small shovel to dig out of the pit. I get to the spot and it's a small sandy beach, kind of embankment on the east side of the river, with a small waiting area for toddlers with their families during the hot summers. So I set up the chair and I get to dig in the pit with only my flashlight illuminating where I'm digging. I'm also just shoveling the sand right next to me, nowhere near the water, but all of a sudden I hear a loud splash. A splash so loud that it can only come from something equally large, like a 2-hand-sized rock. I'm confused because I swear that I'm not throwing my sand into the water, even though I'm only a few feet away. I shine my flashlight at the water and I don't see anything, so I kind of just brush it off, thinking I'm just hearing things. But as I keep shoveling a bit more, I hear another loud splash. At this point, I think something has fallen from above because logically, something must be falling into the water. I point the flashlight above where some trees are above the river, and I don't see anything big enough to make the splash. So as I keep digging, with my heart rate kind of going at this point, I hear a rustling past the arch of where the bridge goes over the river. I quickly grab my light and shine it towards where I heard the rustling. I call out, "Hello?" No response. In my head, if it was a bear, I should be getting out of there immediately, but there was no bear or signs of anything for that matter. So I tell myself that I'm just hearing things now because I've seen horror movies before and now my mind is playing tricks on me. But I hear the noise again and it clearly sounds like leaves being rustled, so I shine my flashlight over to the area again. And as I focus my eyes towards the illuminated area, I see the naked back of a man hunched over. I was kind of frozen in anxiety and stress because honestly, of all the things that I was to see, I didn't think that I would see the naked back of a man. From the quick analysis that my brain could muster up, he looked to be mid-40s, shaved, not bald, and had a medium-ish build, like a mix between chubby and built. As I had my flashlight staying on his back, he started to stand up and the first thing I noticed was that he wasn't wearing any pants either. My next reflex was to start packing up all the crap and getting the heck out of there because now I'm piecing in my head that he must have been throwing things into the water to scare or shoo me away. So after using my reflexive deductive skills, I proceeded to speed walk out of there with all my stuff. I'm carrying all my things with me and briskly walking up the small ramp, and I'm on the paved pathway now out of the forest. I can feel my heart beating out of my chest and I'm frequently looking back to make sure that I'm not being followed. I'm in Crocs, mind you, so I'm hoping that if I have to book it out of there, I'd regret not being in sport mode from the get-go. I make it to the halfway point and a sense of relief starts setting in knowing that I made it safely out of this very scary situation. But as I check behind me for the final time, I see something. Slowly creeping over the ramp is the naked man crawling on all fours, as if he was an animal walking. His head was positioned towards me, looking at me as he made his way to the middle of the paved walkway. He slowly gets up from his stance and starts standing on his feet, and positions his body to face me. After setting himself into this new position, The man starts running towards me, and I freaking book it. I run as hard as I can down the path. My flashlight jumped out of my pocket and I lost it, but I didn't care because the whole naked man was chasing me at 11 p.m. at night in a secluded forest. I looked back for a split second and the man was still running towards me, still completely naked. He could have my flashlight for all I care. I just wanted to make it out of this situation alive. I finally make it out of the forest and I run to my car, which is only 30 feet away from the end of the forest. I desperately get to my car and like a classic horror movie, I fumble with trying to get my key fob to unlock my car. I actually drop my keys and quickly think to myself, I'm actually dead. But I brush the thought off and pick them back up. I get my fob, properly unlock my doors and throw my things into my backseat before getting into my car. This felt like an eternity, but in hindsight, most likely it took only 6 seconds altogether. As I try to guide my key into the ignition, I am fixated on the end of the paved path that I was at just a few seconds ago, waiting to see if the naked man was still coming. I feel my key go into the ignition and I switch my sights onto the road in front of me, and I zoom out of the area as fast as possible. As I drive away, I'm a good 30 seconds from the location of the horror that just took place and I get a call on my phone. It was my friends calling me asking if I had made it to the spot yet, and all I say to them is, "Guys, I have a crazy story to tell you." They pull up to my house because again, it was actually decently close to the campfire area, and I tell them the whole story the way that I just told it now. They swear that it was none of them trying to prank me or anything like that, and I also knew that none of them would try to full-on sprint at me with their dong out. But as we're just talking out in front of my house, there's a college student who looks like he's walking home that goes towards the direction of where I had encountered the naked man. I just yelled out to him, "Yo, be careful, there's a naked guy that was chasing me by the bridge that crosses over the river." He responds saying, "Oh really? I gotta go over that bridge to go home." All I tell him is, "Good luck, man." The next day, I reported it to the police by phone, but they sent over an officer so that I could tell them in person and show them where in the area that I saw these things. When we went to see where I initially saw the man's back hunched over, they said they didn't see any trace of anybody being there previously, but the officer said they would make note of it anyways in case it happens again. Some friends say that it was a skinwalker, others say more realistically it's either a homeless, mentally ill, or a drunk or high person. One theory I've heard my friends say is that it's a future version of me pulling a prank on past version of me, because honestly when time travel is real, I would totally screw with my younger self like that. So that is the only crazy story that I have, but it's a story that I will never forget. Seriously, I'm freaked out and at a loss, thinking I'm either psycho and overreacting or somebody was legit trying to kidnap me or attack me or I don't know. So I work pretty late most nights and sometimes when I need something right away I have no choice but to go to this store that's the only one open late after work. Fast forward, I was driving home and noticed a car behind me super close with their brights on. I thought that it was a cop, but I made a turn and no, it was a small black sedan. Weird. So I kept going my usual way and started noticing the car flashing their brights behind me over and over again, while following me all the way home. I know I didn't drop anything because all I brought in the store were my keys and phone for Apple Pay. My trunk wasn't open. I was seriously getting weirded out, so I made a fast turn and started going 60 on this back road, and I didn't even care about the cops. I actually wanted to get pulled over. Well, this dude was right there behind me going 60 as well, still flashing his headlights. Finally, after about 10 minutes of this, there were these cops in the road doing construction and directing traffic, and then I looked back and the strange car had turned right away. What just happened?